Let me share something surprising. Netflix believed it was securing royalty, but instead it ended up with a failing investment. Meghan Markle entered the deal imagining herself as the next Oprah, yet Netflix now finds itself managing a costly fiasco. What began as a glamorous collaboration has turned into a serious financial burden, and the timing could not be worse. Netflix originally tried to frame Love Meghan as a massive success, even promoting the so-called second season as though it were a fresh, celebrated continuation. But here's the twist. It wasn't truly a second season at all. It was simply recycled material from the first. Audiences noticed immediately. Ratings collapsed far more severely than expected, leaving Netflix executives scrambling to contain the fallout. Behind the scenes, Meghan is reportedly furious. This project was intended to serve as her major rebrand, a chance to establish herself as a powerhouse in the media industry, maintain relevance in Hollywood, and keep the spotlight on her. Instead, the financial support is vanishing quickly. In response to the disappointing performance, Netflix has scaled back dramatically, cutting budgets, canceling plans, and slashing her payments as though they were eliminating unnecessary costs. The financial impact is striking. Meghan was said to be in line for about $5 million for an upcoming holiday special. After the Season 2 disaster, that figure dropped to just $800,000. That isn't a reduction, it's a financial decapitation. And it didn't stop there. Another planned project, an untitled travel series, was expected to earn her $2.5 million. Following the collapse in viewership, that figure was also cut to approximately $450,000. Altogether, nearly $5 million disappeared across just 2 projects. Naturally, Meghan did not take this news well. Reports suggest she confronted Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos directly, accusing him of bowing to pressure from the board. Their exchange reportedly became heated. For Meghan, those contracts weren't just paychecks. They were the foundation for her broader ambitions. Her own reality projects, media ventures, and perhaps even a social media empire. With those funds removed, her plans have been effectively derailed. To add insult to injury, the money reallocated from Meghan's projects is now being channeled into Netflix's flagship series such as Stranger Things and to support up-and-coming stars. In other words, what was once her budget is now fueling the rise of the next generation of talent. That didn't sit well with her either. Insiders say Meghan feels jealous, sidelined, and discarded. So much so that she's now trying to claw her way back into Netflix's good graces, or threatening legal action if they refuse. But here's the truth Netflix won't say outright. The company has lost all confidence in Meghan Markle's star power. Behind closed doors, the board is said to be exhausted by the constant overspending and damaging headlines. They once believed her brand could deliver millions of viewers and fresh subscribers. Instead, with Love, Meghan Season 2 became a $25 million disaster. That figure includes bloated marketing budgets, unaired footage, and entire scenes that never even saw the light of day. It wasn't just a flop. It was a wake-up call. Netflix no longer views Meghan as an asset. She's a liability, both financially and reputationally. And executives are moving quickly to protect the platform before things spiral even further. For Meghan, it feels like a total unraveling. Her footing in Hollywood was already unstable, and now, the image she once carried, the fresh, modern, face of royalty turned global celebrity, is fracturing under corporate rejection and public disinterest. What makes this downfall even more complicated is the personal element at its core. Central to the fallout is Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos. At one point, he was one of Meghan's strongest allies inside the company. Insiders claim he went to bat for her projects, defending them even when board members raised red flags. Ted genuinely believed in her potential, her name recognition, her global reach, and her ability to draw in massive audiences. But after the collapse of Season 2, even Ted couldn't shield her anymore. The numbers spoke for themselves, and the board demanded answers. Executives began breaking everything down: production costs, promotional spend, audience engagement. And what they uncovered was sobering. The viewership didn't just decline, it nosedived. The audience Meghan was supposed to command never materialized. Worse still, those who did tune in left negative reviews, dragging down ratings and driving away retention. It wasn't apathy, it was outright rejection. And with that, the dominoes began to fall. Ted, once loyal, was forced to present the board with a new plan. That plan meant scaling back Meghan's projects and cutting future involvement to a minimum. It wasn't personal, it was survival. Executives, already panicked about runaway spending, knew they couldn't justify keeping her on as a marquee name. With streaming platforms already under economic pressure to cut costs, Meghan's brand went from investment to liability almost overnight. She was supposed to be Netflix's prestige star, the kind of name who could rival Hollywood heavyweights and turn shows into cultural moments. But that illusion crumbled the moment budgets were slashed and her team was blindsided. They had already mapped out future plans, including a huge marketing campaign for the travel series that now won't even see the light of day. Internally, Meghan viewed it as betrayal. Reports say she lashed out not only at Netflix, but also at her own representatives and PR team for failing to safeguard her image. Those projects were supposed to fund her next wave of ventures. Losing them forced everything onto pause, especially her personal passion project, a large-scale reality series designed to reshape her public persona from the ground up. Lawyers are now circling. Rumors suggest Meghan's legal team is investigating potential breach of contract claims, arguing that Netflix pulled funding after agreements were made. But insiders point out the fine print. The contracts included performance clauses. And once Season 2 collapsed, those clauses gave Netflix the flexibility to scale back without paying her in full. With her Netflix pipeline drying up, Meghan is said to be shopping new ideas to other platforms, streamers, television networks, even independent distributors. But the industry is paying close attention. Executives outside Netflix can read the headlines, see the controversy, and, most importantly, measure the risk. There's growing concern that partnering with Meghan could lead to the same kind of disaster: overspending, backlash, and underwhelming results. In an industry already operating on thin financial margins, that kind of baggage is hard to ignore. The real question now isn't whether Meghan can make a comeback. It's whether anyone is still willing to bet on her at all. For the first time, since stepping away from royal life, it looks like her brand isn't just faltering, it's being quietly edged out of the spotlight. Still, Meghan's response has been anything but silent. Determined to cling to relevance, she's pushing ahead with self-funded ventures, a media empire of her own, reality programming, podcasts, and even a possible content hub spanning social platforms. But the problem is straightforward. Without Netflix's money, Meghan's grand plans aren't just ambitious, they're nearly impossible. The level of production quality she envisions comes with a hefty price tag, and with major backers pulling out, her financial runway is shrinking fast. Behind closed doors, she's been seeking alternatives, approaching private investors, pursuing brand partnerships, and even quietly reaching out to YouTube-linked studios. Word is she's been pitching a new unscripted series designed to redefine modern royalty, a project where she could fully control the narrative. But so far, no one's showing interest. Executives are wary. They've seen the ratings, they've seen the backlash. No one wants to bankroll another costly misstep. What makes matters worse is Meghan's reputation within the industry. Insiders say she's gained a name for being difficult to work with, highly controlling, resistant to creative input, and obsessed with perfection. Some claim she micromanages everything, from lighting setups to line delivery. That level of control might be tolerated if her projects delivered, but with repeated underperformance, it only raises more red flags. Even staff at Netflix reportedly found the process draining. Her confrontation with Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos wasn't just a tense meeting, it was the breaking point. Sources say she questioned his loyalty, accused him of humiliating her, and stormed out visibly shaken. For Netflix, that moment sealed the decision. The relationship didn't quietly fizzle, it fractured. Now, Netflix leadership under Greg Peters and the board has shifted focus to damage control. Internally, they're reallocating funds towards stable, proven hits like Stranger Things and The Crown. Budgets once reserved for Meghan's content are being redirected elsewhere, and promotional resources tied to her brand are being cut back. It's a deliberate, calculated exit strategy. Speculation is mounting that Netflix won't renew any future deals with her once the current slate is finished, effectively closing the door on the partnership altogether. Meghan is well aware of this. That's why her team is scrambling to maximize what's left, lining up media interviews, orchestrating press stunts, and even floating the possibility of behind-the-scenes bombshells to generate attention. The mission now is clear. Stay in the headlines, no matter how messy the narrative becomes. To that end, her camp has started reframing the story, quietly seeding claims that Netflix was the one to. Her camp is now pushing a new narrative, that Netflix was never truly supportive, that she was set up to fail, and that the company used her name for attention without ever granting her the creative freedom she deserved. It's a risky strategy, especially since internal reports suggest she had an unusual amount of control over her projects. But desperation drives bold claims, and Meghan's team seems willing to lean into that angle. Meanwhile, her fan base is splitting. Some remain loyal, insisting she's been unfairly targeted and that negative press coverage sabotaged her work. But others, even longtime supporters, are beginning to acknowledge that something doesn't add up. The inconsistencies, the endless PR controversies, and Netflix's silence are all eroding trust. Her once solid base of defenders is shrinking, and even online chatter that used to rally behind her is starting to fade. At this point, what comes next depends entirely on whether Meghan can secure another major platform to back her. Without that, the risk isn't just a stalled career. It's the possibility of her brand disappearing from the spotlight altogether.